Comic Army, my name is Chris the Comic Vet. Hope this video finds you safe and well. Today in Ontario, it's a holiday. It's known as Family Day. Back in 2009, on Family Day of that year, my father passed away at the age of 61. To say that that was a traumatic event would be not strong enough of a word. Either way, life moved forward and I began to live my life with just one parent. It was a little while later that myself, as a second-generation comic book reader, I got to find one of my father's comic books. Literally stumbled on it. I knew that there may have been some comic books in and around his life that were his, but it was only after he passed away that I actually got to find one. I had that book cleaned and pressed and sent to CGC just for protection because it meant something to me. That was an early copy of Turok, Son of Stone. The book came back in a low grade. I couldn't care less about the grade. It was just cool to have something that my father enjoyed that I get to enjoy today. A little while later, I actually found a small stash of my father's comic books. Most of them were either westerns or comic books based on American history. What I've decided to do today, and on the anniversary of my father dying, was to share some of these books that I found. I've decided to spotlight 5 different titles and just tell you a little bit about the books. I've taken the books out of their bag and board just to show how nice the books are. First, I'm going to start with one of the most famous Americans in American history, and that is Davy Crockett. My father owned issue number 9 from October-November 1955, a 10-cent comic book, Fighting Davy Crockett, from Avalon Publications. Here you can see the famous American Davy Crockett shooting at some potential bad guys from his canoe with a cowboy in the background. You can see there's an arrow here stuck in his canoe, so you can presume who Davy is taking on at the time. The cover, or the back cover, has just black and white ad, but the interiors are done in color. The artwork, that is. This book needs some TLC, as you could tell. It does need to be pressed. Cleaning would probably help it as well. We'll see what the future holds for myself in this comic book. But again, this is Fighting Davy Crockett from October-November 1955. Number 9 from Avalon Publications for 10 cents. The next book I want to share with you is from Dell. I don't know much about this character. I've heard of the guns, but I've never heard of this particular character. This is, like I said, from Dell Comics, Red Rider Comics. Here we have another painted, beautiful cover of a red-headed cowboy taking on someone in the background. As you can tell, he's holding a 6-shooter. I'm familiar with Red Rider, the BB guns. Either way, this is a 10-cent book. It's issue number 134 from September of 1954. So basically a year before that Davy Crockett book got released. As you can tell, it looks very, very well. Again, the cleaning and a pressing would help it. But on this particular book, it does have a nice color ad on the back, trying to sell fine line pens. The story on the inside also is a color story. So this is, again, issue 134 from Red Rider Comics, published by Dell in September of 1954. The book that's probably in the nicest condition and that would grade probably the best if it were to be clean and pressed and sent off for grading is another 10-cent book from Charlton comics this time from January 1957. This is issue number 6 of Texas Rangers in Action. Now, I know this book because my dad actually has a few different copies of Texas Rangers in Action. I know that this book went on for a while and did have a large run before it eventually stopped. The ad on the back, again, is in color. And it actually, like I said, is the nicest book of the 5 that I'm about to show, condition-wise. Again, the interior art is in color. And I can remember my dad talking about, when he talked about himself as a young boy, that he really enjoyed Texas Rangers in Action. So it's pretty cool to find this particular issue. The next issue I'm going to show is, again, another famous cowboy in American pulp culture. This is from Dell. This is Gene Autry and his horse Champion. This book was released for November-December 1956. It, again, is a 10-cent comic book. Has a beautifully painted cover of Gene Autry's horse Champion. And yeah, again, Dell just putting out those fantastic covers. This says, Double Danger stalked the ranch. Hot lead and old lace. The back cover is in color, and it's selling the cereal Trix. It makes you smile. Before Trix picked up that slogan, Trix is for kids. The interior artwork is in color, but also the inside of the front page is in color. This was, again, Dell Comics, 10-cent cover, November-December 1956. The famous cowboy Gene Autry and his horse Champion. The final book, Comic Army, that I'm going to show you is one that's kind of in good shape, but it's got a lot of spine ticks, and that happens often, or pardon me, color breaking spine ticks, and that really happens often when you have a photo cover. And this might be arguably the most famous lawman in American history, also from Dell. This is Hugh O'Brien, famous marshal, Wyatt Earp. Now, this particular 10-cent comic book comes from Dell, and it was released for June through August 1960. So this is actually the newest comic book of the 5 that I've shown. Again, it has a fantastic photo cover, as you can see. It has a very bright and colorful back ad for Kraft chocolate fudgies. The interior is also, again, in color, but the inside cover ad, as you can see, is black and white. So those are the 5 comic books that I just wanted to show off, just to celebrate my dad a little bit on this difficult day. Again, my father truly enjoyed American Westerns and comic books about American history. Kind of got passed down to me as well. With that being said, Comic Army, thank you very much for coming with me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed showing those comic books. Until I see you again, Comic Army, take care.